Good evening, everyone. It is Dr. DeAndrea Matthews, and it is Tuesday afternoon. That means it is time for our dream interpretation live stream. I know you guys missed this on yesterday as far as Marriage Mondays. Let me say this anytime we don't have our regular live stream, or if you don't see the announcement showing that the live stream is an upcoming event on social media, then that means that something has come up. Either there's a conflict in the schedule, or like I said, something's come up. Most often, let me say this, if a live stream does not happen or gets rescheduled or anything like that, family always comes first. So if you don't see me, it's probably because, we handling business with family or friends and something has come up. Otherwise, I'm going to be here going live. But thank you for joining me today. As you're coming on board, make sure you say hello in the comments. And if you're joining via the replay, make sure you say hello as well. We're going to go ahead and get started with our dream interpretation live stream. And tonight, you're actually going to get a treat. Normally, I am sharing the graphics and the information on social media leading up to the live stream. But tonight, you guys get it first. So we're going to talk about vehicles this evening. This is not content that I have shared to social media yet. I've been a little lax on posting as far as dreams the last couple of weeks, only because my schedule has gotten much more busy. And I anticipate that it will be like that for the month of April at least, but I will post when I can. But as you're joining us, go ahead and say hello in the comments. Tonight, we're talking about vehicles, and there are 6 vehicles that I will talk about this evening. So hopefully you have your notebooks and you could take some notes. I want to hear from my dreamers that are joining us. So if you are a dreamer, say hello in the comments and let me know I am a dreamer. All right, we're going to go ahead and talk about vehicles. And a lot of times when you are dreaming, you might find yourself in a vehicle, whether you are driving the vehicle, whether you're in the passenger seat, whether you're in the back seat, whether you're watching a vehicle. All of these actions all of those actions signify the perspective by which you want to interpret the dream. So even though we're talking about the vehicles, and even though we're talking about the symbolism, there's so much more to interpreting the dream itself. What I share with you, like this evening, we're talking about vehicles. Last week, we talked about places. So each time that I talk about something, I'm only sharing what that particular symbol means. However, you need to put all the symbols together and pray over it and allow the Holy Spirit to speak to you to get the revelation, to get the interpretation of the dream. And again, for example, if I am in a vehicle, am I the driver? Am I in the passenger seat? Am I in the back seat? Am I on the side of the road watching the vehicle as it goes past? All of those indicates a different position and also a different interpretation for what's going on in the dream. So having said that, I'll go ahead and talk about the vehicles themselves, as long as you understand that the vehicle it represents a specific type of symbolism, but also what else is going on in the dream. And that's why it's so important to be able to write down your dreams. And I hope that you're keeping a dream journal. Again, I've got a few dream journals. I've shown you some of my dream journals as we've been talking about this during this year. So hopefully you're writing down the details and can get the full interpretation of what it means and not just a single symbolism out of context. All right, we're going to get started with a bus. So if you've ever dreamed about being on a bus typically represents a large ministry. Now, again, that could mean a ton of different things. You could be a part of a large church already. It could be, again, depending on what else is going on, it could mean a lot of different things. But a bus itself represents a large ministry. Now, a double-decker bus is something a little bit different. A double-decker bus represents a prophetic or teaching ministry. So it could be a prophetic and teaching ministry, or prophetic or teaching ministry, but a double-decker bus represents a prophetic teaching ministry. So you have both of those. So you have both the bus, which represents a large ministry. Hi there, Tanisha. The bus represents a large ministry, but then you also have the double-decker bus, which represents a prophetic teaching ministry. And again, Pay attention to where you are in the dream. Are you watching the bus as it goes by? Are you on the bus? Are you on the bottom level of the double-decker bus, or are you on the top level of the double-decker bus? Position means a lot when it comes to interpreting your dream. So again, just a reminder to jot those details down in your dream journals. All right, we just talked about bus. Next, we're going to talk about a train. A train is a little bit different, but again, you'll notice the similarities between all of these vehicles. A train represents a ministry with clout. So if you don't know what a ministry with clout is, when you think about the large ministries or the popular ministries in your city, state, locale, wherever you live, whatever comes to mind, these are the typical ministries with clout. And I'm not going to go into a lot of details about those in Metro Detroit. Those of you who live here kind of know what this refers to. But the other thing that I will say is pay attention to the type of people that are attracted to certain ministries, because that tells you something else about the particular ministry, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. A train represents a ministry with clout. It can also represent a lucrative endeavor, lucrative just speaking to financial, very prosperous endeavor. It can also represent a vehicle of the flesh. Again, sometimes we get involved with things, we get involved with ministries, we get involved with opportunities that really speaks to our flesh. It's something that, again, ministers to our flesh. It's something we've been wanting. It's something we've been desiring, whether or not it's a part of God's plan or not. So a vehicle of the flesh, which could also be a ministry with an agenda. Not every ministry is about serving the Lord in spirit and in truth. Some ministries are just about again, whatever their agenda is. Their agenda could be any number of different things, and I'm sure you probably have some examples of that as well. But a train could represent pretty much those 3 or 4 different things. Definitely a ministry with clout. It could also represent a lucrative endeavor. It could represent a vehicle of the flesh, which can refer to a ministry that has an agenda. It's something particular that they are trying to achieve or get done. So a train could represent any of that. And if you're wondering, well, how do I know if it means 1, 2, or 3? Pay attention to the other details in the dream. When you are looking at symbolism, the other things that are going on around that particular symbol, especially if that's the main symbol in the dream, what are the other details showing you? What are the other details telling you? Is it light outside? Is it gray outside? Is it dark outside? All of these things mean something and speaks to the interpretation of the dream itself. Next up is an airplane. I know last week we talked about an airport. Today, since we're talking about vehicles, we're looking at the airplane. An airplane represents going to new heights. That's not hard to understand, because when you get into a plane, you're actually going to new heights. Hey there, Mia. Thanks for joining. So airplane means going to new heights. It can also represent a high-profile ministry. You also may be recognizing that with each of the vehicles I'm talking about, it represents a different aspect of ministry. So that is no surprise there. Vehicles typically represent some type of ministry, and that's why it's important to understand what each one represents or can represent depending on the other details in the dream. So an airplane can represent going to new heights. It can represent a high-profile ministry. Now, a high-profile ministry is different from a ministry with clout that we just talked about with the train. So a ministry with clout, again, could have, I don't know, physicians, attorneys, judges, politicians. Ministries with clout typically have people with clout and influence, whereas a high-profile ministry, high-profile just means that it's in the news, or people know about it. It's an influential ministry itself. Again, someone says the name of this particular church or ministry, many people know it and recognize it. That's slightly different from a ministry with clout. So again, back to the airplane. Airplane can represent new heights. It can represent a high-profile ministry. It could also represent travel. And then finally, freedom in the spirit. So those are the 4 things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that an airplane can represent. And you will know which one is applicable to your particular dream based on the other details and what's going on in the dream. Again, something as simple as you watching a plane taking off versus you being in the plane that's taking off. All of that makes a difference. So again, the airplane can represent new heights. It could represent a high-profile ministry. It could represent travel, or it could represent freedom in the spirit. Next up is a car. A car is one of those very common dream symbols. A lot of times we find ourselves in the car, whether we are looking for our car and can't find our car, or whether we are driving the car, whether we're driving the car backwards, whether we're driving the car backwards down the hill, whether we're in the passenger seat of the car, whether we're knocking on the window trying to get in the car. So many different scenarios, but a car typically represents ministry or a ministry gift. It can also represent the church or a business. And then finally, it could represent a family unit. So those are the things that a card can represent. Again, it could represent ministry or a ministry gift. It could represent a church or a business, or it could represent a family unit. Now, similar to when we talked about the bus and we talked about the difference between a bus and a double-decker bus, I got another little bonus for you, because similar to a car, hello there, Charlotte, thanks for joining us. Similar to the car, a convertible, which is a specific type of car with no roof. A convertible in a dream is very different from a car itself. So if you see a convertible, or if you are in a convertible in the dream, the convertible means that that person, the person particularly that is in the driver's seat, because the driver of a vehicle is the one that's in control. So if you are in a convertible and you are in the driver's seat, then that means that that particular person has authority issues. So not having a roof on the car is similar to not having a covering. And it talks about, or it speaks to that particular person having authority issues. Again, the dream realm represents the spirit realm. So you're learning a lot of spiritual truths as you are engaging in the dream realm. So I'll go back over that again. A car represents ministry or ministry gift, a church or business, or a family unit. And then the particular car that we looked at is a convertible, and someone who is in the driver's seat in a convertible typically has authority issues, because a convertible is a car that has no roof, which means it has no covering. All right, two more and then we are done today. Next up is a van. A van, again, another type of vehicle. A van typically refers to receiving some type of delivery. It could also mean a deliverer, whether it's someone who actually brings packages to someone, or a deliverer as far as someone involved in deliverance ministry. A van can also represent a business outlook. So whether it is, again, a good business outlook, things are sunny and bright and going well, or whether it's rainy, stormy, and you in the dream, or in the van in the dream, both can represent a business outlook. And it's so important to pay attention to the other things going on in the dream, the other details, the other people that are involved. All of those details make a difference and changes the interpretation. Hey there, Mother Beverly. Changes the interpretation of that dream itself. And I know I've said that a few times, even during this short live stream, but it's so important to pay attention to those details to get a proper interpretation, and never ever try to interpret dreams from God without consulting the Holy Spirit. Even if you've memorized all of these symbols that I'm going through, the symbols by themselves mean nothing without that revelation from the Holy Spirit. All right, our last one this evening is a speedboat. A speedboat is our final vehicle this evening. And a speedboat, similar to how you think about a speedboat, is speeding along. A speedboat refers to accelerating the ministry, whether it's the ministry that you're a part of, whether it's the ministry that you're leading, accelerating the ministry. It could also refer to, a powerful ministry, because, of course, a speedboat has a lot of power. It has to have a lot of power in order to go as fast as it does. A speedboat definitely speaks to something happening quickly and suddenly. Now, everything that happens quickly and suddenly isn't good. So you want to pay attention to those details. What else is going on? What other animals are involved? What other people are involved? Are the waves, really choppy? Is it smooth? Is it a smooth sailing? Is it bright and sunny? Is it cloudy, storming? All those things make a difference in the overall interpretation of the dream. All right, Mia says she was waiting on a boat and dreamed about being on a cruise boat. All right, we did not talk about cruises tonight with our vehicles, but I will make sure to reach out to you and let you know what that cruise boat represents, or cruise ship represents. So if you're just joining us, the vehicles that we went over this evening, we talked about a bus first, then we talked about a train. We also talked about a double-decker bus. We talked about a regular bus, and we also talked about a double-decker bus. Then we talked about the train. We talked about an airplane. We talked about a car, and we added a convertible car. And then we talked about a van, and then finally a speedboat. Those are the vehicles that we talked about this evening. If you missed any of those vehicles that we talked about, go ahead and watch the replay. If you're just joining us or you're joining us for the replay, go ahead and type in #replay in the comments. Thank you all for joining us. I got all my dreamers on the live stream today, so thank you for being here. I love all my dreamers, and I love pouring into you so that we can get a better understanding of the symbolism in our dreams, but also seeking God for revelation on what our dreams mean. So thank you for joining us. I'll see you next Tuesday, hopefully with no schedule interruptions or anything like that. I'll see you next Tuesday for our next Dream Interpretation live stream. Be sure to join us on Thursday evening, 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our Bible study, and then on Saturday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for prayer. Take care, everyone. I love you. Take care. Bye-bye.